Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, featuring John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson. Tonight, The Norwood Builder.
Young lawyer John Hector Macfarlane, a junior partner of Graham and Macfarlane in the heart of London, was familiar with the name of Jonas Oldacre. For many years ago, his parents were acquainted with the prosperous builder. Young Macfarlane was very much surprised when Oldacre walked into his office in the city one afternoon. He had in his hand several sheets of a notebook covered with scribbled writing.
This is my will, Mr. Macfarlane. I want you to cast it into proper legal shape. I will sit here while you do so.
Very well. May I? But this is...
Yes?
Well, if I understand this correctly, you wish to leave all your property to me.
Let me explain, Mr. Macfarlane. You see, I'm a bachelor with no living relations, and it just so happens that I knew your parents in my youth, and I'd always heard of you as a very deserving young man, and I'm assured my money would be in worthy hands.
Mr. Oldacre, I assure you...
Not another word, my boy, not another word. Now I want you to draw up this will as I asked, and I'll happily sign it here and now. Have some of your clerks witness it, I don't care, but there's something else I need you to do for me. There are a number of documents, building leases, title deeds, mortgages, scrip, and so forth, which it's necessary for you to see and understand.
Very well. What day would suit you?
I won't be easy in my mind until the whole thing's settled. I'd like you to come out to my home, Deepden House at Norwood tonight.
Tonight?
About 9. I have some important business on hand, and I might not be home before then. I'll have my housekeeper, Mrs. Lexington, prepare some supper. Bring the will with you, and remember, my boy, not one word to your parents about the affair until everything is settled. We'll keep it as a little surprise for them.
Of course, as his benefactor, Macfarlane was in no position to refuse Jonas Oldacre anything he might ask. So the young man sent a telegram home, stating he had important business on hand and it was impossible for him to say how late he might be. He had some difficulty finding Deepden House, however, and it was nearly past before he reached it.
Yes?
Mrs. Lexington, my name is Macfarlane. I believe your master's expecting me. I'm sorry I'm a trifle late. It wasn't easy to...
Come in, Mr. Macfarlane. May I take your rat and stick?
And this one relates to stocks and shares, you see?
Yes, I understand. I'll just seal these up. So.
I've always wondered, doesn't the hot wax burn your thumb when you press on it?
Not really. It's just a little warm.
Well, I think that concludes our business for this evening. I'll have to get everything back in order before I put it in the safe. Gracious, look at the time. You must be getting on your way, my boy.
Yes, it's been rather a long day.
Long, but not entirely unfruitful, eh? What's the matter? What are you looking for?
My stick, Mr. Oldacre. Your housekeeper took it. What might she have done with it?
I'm not sure. But I shouldn't like to wake her at this hour. Never mind, my boy. I'll keep your stick until you come back to claim it. After all, I shall be seeing a good deal of you now, eh?
From the point of view of the criminal expert, Watson, London has become a singularly uninteresting city since the death of the late lamented Professor Moriarty.
I hardly think you'll find many decent citizens to agree with you, Holmes.
Well, I mustn't be selfish. The community is certainly the gainer, and no one the loser, save the poor out-of-work specialist whose occupation is gone. With that man in the field, one's morning paper presented infinite possibilities. To the scientific student of the higher criminal world, no capital in Europe offered the advantages which London then possessed. But now...
What on earth?
I'm sorry for the intrusion, Mr. Holmes. You mustn't blame me, but I'm nearly mad. You see, I am the unhappy John Hector Macfarlane.
I should be glad, Mr. Macfarlane, if you should sit down in that chair and tell us very slowly and quietly who you are and what it is that you want. You mentioned your name just now as if I should recognize it, but I assure you that, beyond the obvious facts that you are a bachelor, a solicitor, a Freemason, and an asthmatic, I know nothing whatever about you.
Yes, I am all that, Mr. Holmes. And in addition, I'm the most unfortunate man at this moment in London. For heaven's sake, don't abandon me. If they come to arrest me before I've finished my story, make them give me time so I can tell you the whole truth. I could go to jail happy if I knew that you were working for me outside.
Arrest you? Upon what charge?
Upon the charge of murdering Mr. Jonas Oldacre of Lower Norwood.
Why, Mr. MacFarlane, this is really most gratifying. Most interesting.
Mysterious affair at Lower Norwood. Disappearance of a well-known builder. Suspicion of murder and arson. A clue to the criminal.
A clue they're already following, gentlemen, and I know that it leads infallibly to me.
Have a cigarette, Mr. MacFarlane. I'm sure that with your symptoms, my friend Watson here would prescribe a sedative.
Late last night, or early this morning, an incident occurred at Lower Norwood. Mr. Jonas Oldacre is a well-known resident of that suburb, where he has carried on his business as a builder for many years. At about 12 o'clock, an alarm was given that one of the stacks in the small timber yard in the back of his house was on fire. Surprise was expressed at the absence of the master of the establishment, and an examination of his room revealed that his bed had not been slept in. His safe was open, and a number of important papers were scattered about. The conduct of the criminal investigation has been left in the experienced hands of Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard, who was following up the clues with his usual accustomed energy and sagacity.
I've been followed from London Bridge Station, and I'm sure they're only waiting for the warrant to arrest me. I feel as if my name and my misfortune must be in every man's mouth. It will break my mother's heart, Mr. Holmes. It will break her heart.
Then we must use what time we have. Mr. MacFarlane, do you have those notes Oldacre gave you?
Yes, here they are.
And to think, it was only moments ago that I was saying to Dr. Watson that sensational cases had disappeared from our papers. The case certainly has some points of interest. May I ask, Mr. MacFarlane, how it is that you are still at liberty, since there appears to be enough evidence to justify your arrest?
It was so late when I left Oldacre, I couldn't get back to Blackheath, so I spent the night in a hotel. I knew nothing more until the morning when I read of this horrible affair. I at once saw the danger of my position, and I hurried to put the case into your hands. I have no doubt that I should have been arrested either at my city office or at my home. A man followed me from London Bridge Station, and I have no doubt... Great heaven, what's that?
Mr. John Hector MacFarlane, I arrest you for the willful murder of Mr. Jonas Oldacre of Lower Norwood.
Good morning, Inspector Lestrade.
All I ask, Inspector, is that you should hear and recognize the absolute truth.
Be careful what you wish for, MacFarlane. Get inside the four-wheeler, please. Well, Mr. Holmes, I hope this fellow hasn't wasted too much of your time.
On the contrary, Lestrade, MacFarlane has given us an account of this very interesting affair, which might aid us in clearing it up.
Oh, I think there'll be no difficulty in clearing it up. I found signs of a murderous struggle in Oldacre's house, indicating traces of blood upon the handle of an oaken walking stick, which I believe belongs to your client.
But no body. You're only assuming Jonas Oldacre is dead.
Oh, didn't the newspapers report that, Doctor? Outside the French windows, there are marks as if some bulky object was dragged across to the woodpile.
That's hardly evidence.
And charred remains among the charcoal ashes of the fire. My theory is that the victim was clubbed to death, his papers rifled, and his dead body dragged across to the wood stack, which was then ignited so as to hide all traces of the crime. Anything more you'd like to ask, gentlemen?
Not until we've been to Blackheath.
You mean to Norwood?
Oh, yes. No doubt that is what I must have meant. I dare say that in the course of the day I shall drop in and see how you're getting on. Good day, Lestrade.
Blackheath, Holmes?
Correct, Watson.
Why not Norwood?
Because we have in this case one singular incident coming close to the heels of another singular incident. The police are making the mistake of concentrating their attention upon the second, because it happens to be the one which is actually criminal. But it's evident to me that the logical way to approach this case is to begin by trying to throw some light upon the first incident.
That being?
Look at the notes prepared by Oldacre for the drawing up of his will. There are some interesting points about this document, wouldn't you say, Watson?
Well, I can read the first few lines, and these in the middle of the second page, and one or two at the end. Those are as clear as print. But the writing between is very bad. And there are 3 places where I can't read it at all.
Curious, is it not? Well, get your hat and coat, Watson. I trust that by this evening we'll be able to do something for this unfortunate youngster who's thrown himself upon our protection.
Yes, gentlemen, I knew Jonas Oldacre. He was more like a malignant and cunning ape than a human being, and he always was, ever since he was a young man.
Mrs. McFarlane, perhaps it would be wise to restrain your bitterness when speaking to the police. You might unconsciously be considerably strengthening the case against your son.
There is a God in heaven, Dr. Watson, and the same God who has punished that wicked man will show in his own good time that my son's hands are guiltless of his blood.
And yet it might be argued that if he heard you speak of Oldacre in this fashion, it would predispose him towards hatred and violence. Now, you say you knew Oldacre as a young man.
Yes, I knew him well, Mr. Holmes. In fact, he was an old suitor of mine. Thank heaven that I had the sense to turn away from him and to marry a better, if poorer, man. I was engaged to Jonas when I heard a shocking story of how he had turned a cat loose in an aviary, and I was so horrified by his brutal cruelty that I would have nothing more to do with him. If you have any doubts, I should like you to look at this.
Oldacre defaced and mutilated your picture in this grisly fashion?
And sent it to me in that state with his curse upon my wedding morning.
Well, at least he saw reason in the end, since he left all his property to your son.
Neither my son nor I want anything from Jonas Oldacre, dead or alive.
It's all going wrong, Watson. All as wrong as it can go. I can get at nothing which would help our hypothesis, and several points which would make against it.
Well, I must say you seemed quite confident in front of Lestrade.
No, I kept a bold face, for our client's sake, you understand. On my soul, I believe that for once the fellow is on the right track, and we are on the wrong. All my instincts are one way, all the facts are the other, and I much fear that British juries have not yet attained that pitch of intelligence when they will give the preference to my theories over Lestrade's facts.
In search of clues, eh, Mr. Holmes? Well, it's difficult for me to refuse you anything, for you've been of use to the force once or twice in the past, and we owe you a good turn at Scotland Yard. At the same time, I must warn you that you are wasting your time and that of Dr. Watson here.
Then I shall leave the good doctor in your company.
Oh, I say, Holmes.
No, my dear Watson. There's no need for you to accompany me. There's no prospect of danger, or I shouldn't dream of stirring without you.
Sad to see a once great man go so wrong like this.
Mr. Holmes has performed greater feats than the exoneration of Mr. John Hector McFarlane, Inspector.
I'm afraid even that'll be beyond him this time, Doctor. I didn't have time to tell him before he dashed off, but my constables uncovered quite a treasure trove this morning.
Oh?
Yes. I had them raking through the ashes of the burned wood pile. Not really work suited to a brain worker like myself. Well, besides the charred organic remains, they secured these.
Trouser buttons.
And if you examine them carefully, you can even distinguish that one of them is marked with the name of Hyams, who I'm informed by the housekeeper was the late Jonas Oldacre's tailor.
Mrs. Lexington?
You are Mr. Holmes, I take it. Inspector Lestrade told me to expect you. He said you were acting on behalf of my master's murderer.
Mrs. Lexington, I understand that you let Mr. McFarlane in at 9:30.
I did, and I wish my hand had withered before I had done so.
And you retired at what time?
At 10:30. My room is at the other end of the house, and I heard nothing of what passed. I was only awakened by the alarm of fire. By the time I reached the woodpile, I could see nothing but flames, but I smelled the burned flesh.
Did Mr. Oldacre have any enemies?
Every man has enemies, sir. But Mr. Oldacre kept very much to himself and only met people in the way of business.
Regarding his business, there is one curious little point about Mr. Oldacre's papers. On looking over your late employer's bank book, I found that the balance is quite low, principally due to several large cheques made out during the last year to a Mr. Cornelius. I confess I should be interested to know who this Mr. Cornelius may be, with whom a retired builder has had such very large transactions.
I know nothing of the papers nor of Mr. Oldacre's private affairs. As for this Cornelius person, I imagine he must be a broker.
So one might think, but I found no script correspond with these large payments.
I'm sure Mr. Holmes would agree that when Oldacre drew up his will, he drew up his own death warrant at the same time.
I don't think the case is clear to Mr. Holmes yet.
Not clear? Well, if that isn't clear, what could be clear? Here's a young man who learns that if a certain older man dies, he'll succeed to a fortune. What does he do? He says nothing to anyone, but he arranges to go on some pretext to see his client that night. He waits until the only other person in the house is in bed, and in the solitude of the man's room, he murders him, burns his body in the woodpile, and then departs to a neighboring hotel. It's probable he imagined his crime to be a bloodless one, and hoped that if the body were consumed, it'd hide all traces of the method of his death. Traces which, for some reason, must have pointed to him. Isn't it all obvious?
Well, perhaps it's just a little too obvious, Lestrade. I mean, say, why would he leave the stick behind?
Oh, you know as well as I do that a criminal is often flurried and does things a cool man would avoid. He's very likely afraid to go back to the room. Give me another theory that'd fit the facts.
I could very easily give you half a dozen.
Go on, then.
Oh, well, very well. The older man is showing McFarlane documents which are of evident value. A passing tramp sees them through the window, the blind of which was only half down. Exit the solicitor, enter the tramp. He seizes the stick, kills Oldacre, and departs after burning the body.
And why should the tramp burn the body?
Possibly he wanted to hide that any murder at all had been committed.
And why did he take nothing?
Because they were papers he couldn't negotiate.
You're too many for me when you both begin to get on your theories. Well, Doctor, you may look for your tramp, and while you're finding him, we'll hold on to our man. The future will show us which is right. Just notice this point. So far as we know, none of the papers were removed, and my prisoner is the one man in the world who had no reason for removing them, since he was heir at law, and he'd come into them in any case.
Of course, Lestrade, I don't mean to deny that the evidence is in some ways very strong in favor of your theory. I only wish to point out that there are other theories possible. As you say, the future will decide.
I worked the lawn very carefully for signs and traces, Watson. But this drought has made everything as hard as iron. Nothing to be seen, save that some body or bundle has been dragged through a low privet hedge in a line with the woodpile.
All of which fits in with the official theory.
I crawled about the lawn with the August sun on my back, but I'm no wiser than before.
Footmarks?
I could make out those of both men on the carpet, but none of any third person.
Another trick for the other side.
They're piling up their score all the time. We're at a standstill. Only one little gleam of hope did I get, Watson. I examined the contents of the safe, most of which had been left on the table. The papers had been made up into sealed envelopes, one or two of which had been opened by the police.
Were they of any great value?
Not so far as I could judge. Nor did the bank book show that Mr. Oldacre was in such very affluent circumstances. But it seemed to me that all the papers were not there. There were allusions to some deeds, possibly the more valuable, which I couldn't find.
If we could definitely prove it, it would turn Lestrade's argument against himself. For who would steal a thing if he knew that he would shortly inherit it?
Failing any other indication, my researchers must now take the direction of an inquiry at the bank for the mysterious Mr. Cornelius.
Eat some breakfast, Holmes.
Thank you, Watson, but at present I cannot spare energy and nerve force for digestion. What do you think of this telegram?
Important fresh evidence to hand. McFarlane's guilt definitely established. Advise you abandon case, Lestrade. Well, this sounds serious.
It is Lestrade's little cockadoodle of victory. Seems we've failed, my dear Watson. And yet I know it's all wrong. Feel it in my bones. There is something that has not yet come out.
And you believe that the housekeeper, Mrs. Lexington, knows it?
I do. There was a sort of sulky defiance in her eyes, which only goes with guilty knowledge. She could tell us something if she would. I'm convinced of it. But she's as close as wax.
Well, surely McFarlane's appearance would go far with any jury.
A dangerous argument, Watson. You remember that terrible murderer, Bert Stevens, who wanted us to get him off in '87? Was there ever a more mild-mannered Sunday school young man?
Ah, yes, true.
Unless we succeed in establishing an alternative theory, this man is lost. I can hardly find a flaw in the case now presented against him, and all further investigation has served to strengthen it. I fear, my dear fellow, that our case will end ingloriously by Lestrade hanging our client, which will certainly be a triumph for Scotland Yard. However, there's no good talking about it anymore. Unless some lucky chance comes our way, I fear the Norwood disappearance case will not figure in that chronicle of our successes, which I foresee that a patient public will sooner or later have to endure.
It may be premature to abandon the case, Holmes. After all, important fresh evidence is a two-edged thing and may possibly cut in a very different direction to that which Lestrade imagines.
Very well. Take your breakfast, Watson, and we'll go out to Norwood together and see what we can do. I feel as if I shall need your company and your moral support today.
Well, Doctor, have you found your tramp yet?
Don't play the silly ass, Lestrade.
Inspector, the weather has been so very warm these last few days, don't you think?
Mr. Holmes, have you proved us to be wrong yet?
I have formed no conclusion whatever.
But I formed mine yesterday, and it now proves to be correct, so you must acknowledge that we've been a little in front of you this time. Step this way, if you please, gentlemen, and I think I can convince you once and for all that it was McFarlane who committed this crime.
You certainly have the air of something unusual having occurred, Lestrade.
You don't like being beaten any more than the rest of us do. Well, a man can't expect always to have it his own way, can he? Now, look at this. This is where young McFarlane must have come out to get his hat after the crime was done. Now, look at this.
A thumb mark. In blood.
Mr. Holmes, you're aware that no two thumb marks are alike?
I have heard something of the kind.
Well, then, kindly compare that print with this impression of young McFarlane's right thumb taken by my orders this morning.
I see.
And that is final.
Yes, final. Dear me, dear me. Well, now, who would have thought it? And how deceptive appearances may be, to be sure. Such a nice young man to look at. It is a lesson to us not to trust our own judgment, is it not, Doctor?
Well,
some of us are a little too much inclined to be cocksure, Mr. Holmes.
What a providential thing that this young man should press his right thumb against the wall in taking his hat from the peg. By the way, Lestrade, who made this remarkable discovery?
The housekeeper, Mrs. Lexington. She drew the night constable's attention to it. He was on guard in the room where the crime was committed so as to see that nothing is touched.
Why didn't anyone see this mark yesterday?
Well, we had no particular reason to make a careful examination of the hole. But besides, it's not in a very prominent place, as you see.
I suppose there's no doubt that the mark was here yesterday.
Why, do you imagine that McFarlane came out of jail in the dead of night in order to strengthen the evidence against himself?
No, that is quite impossible, isn't it?
I'm a practical man, Mr. Holmes. And when I've got my evidence, I come to my conclusions. If you have anything to say, you'll find me writing my report in the sitting room.
Dear me, this is a very sad development, is it not? And yet, there are singular points about it which hold out some hopes for our client.
I'm delighted to hear it. I was afraid it was all up with him.
I'd hardly go so far as to say that, my dear Watson. The fact is, there's one really serious flaw in this evidence to which our friend attaches so much importance.
What flaw?
Only that I know that this mark was not here when I examined the hall yesterday. And now, Watson, let us have a little stroll around in the sunshine.
What? Holmes? What did you say?
Inspector.
Oh, no. Yes, Mr. Holmes.
Don't you think it may be a little premature in writing your report? I can't help thinking that your evidence is not complete.
What do you mean, Mr. Holmes?
Only that there's an important witness whom you have not seen.
Oh, yes? Can you produce him?
I think I can. How many constables have you?
There are 3 within call.
Excellent. May I ask if they're all large, able-bodied men with powerful voices?
I have no doubt they are, though I fail to see what their voices have to do with it.
Well, perhaps I can help you to see that, and 1 or 2 other things as well. In the outhouse, they'll find a considerable quantity of straw. Ask them to carry 2 bundles of it to the top of the landing. I think it will be of the greatest assistance in producing the witness whom I require. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, I think we're all ready.
I don't know whether you're playing a game with us, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. If you know anything, you can surely say it with all this tomfoolery.
I assure you, Inspector, that I have an excellent reason for everything I do. You may possibly remember that you chaffed me a little some hours ago when the sun seemed to be on your side of the hedge, so you mustn't grudge me a little pomp and ceremony now. Watson, I believe you have some matches in your pocket. Kindly put a match to the edge of the straw. Excellent. Now, gentlemen, might I ask you all to join in the cry of fire? Now then, 1, 2, 3...
Fire!
Thank you. I will trouble you once again.
Fire!
Just once more, gentlemen, and all together.
Fire!
Capital. Lestrade, allow me to present you with your principal missing witness, Mr. Jonas Oldacre.
What's this, then? What have you been doing all this time, eh?
I've done no harm.
No harm. You've done your best to get an innocent man hanged. If it wasn't for this gentleman here, I'm not so sure you wouldn't have succeeded.
There's the advantage of being a builder. He was able to fix up his own little hiding place without any confederate.
Save, of course, that precious housekeeper of his.
Watson, a bucket of water over the straw, if you please.
It was a joke, my good sir. A practical joke, nothing more. I simply concealed myself in order to see the effect of my disappearance. I'm sure you wouldn't be so unjust as to imagine that I would have allowed any harm to befall young Mr. McFarlane.
Oh, a joke, was it? You won't find the laugh on your side, I promise you. We shall have you on a charge of conspiracy, if not attempted murder.
And you'll probably find that your creditors will impound the banking account of Mr. Cornelius.
It seems I have you to thank for a good deal. Perhaps I shall pay my debt some day.
I fancy that you will find your time very fully occupied for some few years to come, Mr. Oldacre.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Holmes. I couldn't say anything in front of the constables, but I don't mind saying, in the presence of Dr. Watson, that this is the brightest thing you've done yet, though it's a mystery to me how you did it.
Nor I, Holmes. I understand your deductions concerning our client. Untidiness of attire meant he must be a bachelor. The sheaf of legal papers indicated a solicitor, the watch charm a Freemason, and, of course, the breathing an asthmatic. Well, I saw all that at once.
Did you? Then it was very tactful of you not to mention it, old fellow.
It's the next few steps that puzzle me.
You remember Oldacre's will?
Of course. It was very clear in parts and practically illegible in others.
What do you deduce from that?
Well, what do you deduce from it?
That it was written on a train. The good writing represented stations, the bad writing movement, and the very bad writing passing over points. A scientific expert would pronounce at once that it was drawn up on a suburban line, since nowhere save in the immediate vicinity of a great city could there be so quick a succession of points. Granting that his whole journey was occupied in drawing up the will, then the train was an express, only stopping once between Norwood and London Bridge.
Good grief.
How very curious, I thought, that a man should draw up so important a document in so haphazard a fashion, so suddenly made, and to so unexpected an air. It suggests that he didn't think it was going to be of much practical importance. If a man drew up a will which he did not intend ever to be effective, he might do it so.
And that made you certain that McFarlane was telling the truth?
Oh, no, Lestrade. I knew that the moment I heard his story. You do not add imagination to your other great qualities, but if you could for one moment put yourself in the place of this young man, would you choose the very night after the will had been made to commit your crime? Would it not seem dangerous to you to make so very close a relation between two incidents? Would you choose an occasion when you are known to be in the house, when a servant has let you in? And finally, would you take the great pains to conceal the body and yet leave your own stick as a sign that you were the criminal?
And what about Oldacre's hiding place?
I made up my mind that the fellow was hiding in the house when I paced one corridor and found it 6 feet shorter than the corresponding one below. We could, of course, have gone in and taken him, but it amused me to make him reveal himself, and I didn't think he'd have the nerve to lie quiet before an alarm of fire. Besides, I owed you a little mystification, Lestrade.
Well, sir, you certainly got equal with me on that. But how in the world did you know he was in the house at all?
The thumb mark, Lestrade. You said it was final, and so it was, in a very different sense. I knew it hadn't been there the day before. I pay a good deal of attention to matters of detail, as you may have observed, and I'd examined the hall and was sure that the wall was clear. Therefore, it had been put on during the night.
But how?
Oh, very simply. When those packets were sealed up, Jonas Oldacre got McFarlane to secure one of the seals by putting his thumb upon the soft wax. It would be done so quickly and so naturally that I dare say the young man himself has no recollection of it. Very likely it just so happened, and Oldacre has himself no notion of the use he would put it to. Brooding over the case in that den of his, it suddenly struck him that absolutely damning evidence he could make against McFarlane by using that thumb mark. It was the simplest thing in the world for him to take a wax impression from the seal, moisten it in as much blood as he could get from a pinprick, and put the mark upon the wall during the night, either with his own hand or with that of his housekeeper. If you examine those documents which he took with him into his retreat, I'll wager you'll find the seal with the thumb mark upon it.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's all as clear as crystal. And the object of this deep deception?
Well, I don't think that's very hard to explain. Jonas Oldacre is a very deep, malicious, vindictive person. You know that he was once refused by McFarlane's mother.
You don't. Perhaps you should have gone to Blackheath first, and to Norwood afterwards.
Well, this injury, as he considered it, has rankled in his wicked, scheming brain. And all his life he's longed for vengeance, but never seen his chance.
So what changed?
Well, Holmes can fill you in with the details.
Gladly, Watson. During the last year or two, things have gone against him. Secret speculation, I imagine, and he finds himself in a bad way. He determines to swindle his creditors, and for this purpose he pays large cheques to a certain Mr. Cornelius, who is, of course, himself under another name. I have no doubt that they were banked under that name in some provincial town where Oldacre from time to time led a double existence.
So he intended to change his name altogether, draw his money, and vanish, starting a new life elsewhere.
Well, that's likely enough.
It would strike him that in disappearing he might throw all pursuit off his track, and at the same time have ample and crushing revenge upon his old sweetheart, if he could give the impression he'd been murdered by her only child.
It was a masterpiece of villainy, and he carried it out like a master. The idea of the will, which would give an obvious motive for the crime, the secret visit unknown to his mother, the retention of the stick, the blood, the remains and buttons in the woodpile, all were admirable. It was a net from which it seemed to him there was no possible escape, but he had not that supreme gift of the artist, the knowledge of when to stop. He wished to improve that which was already perfect, to draw the rope tighter yet around the neck of his unfortunate victim, and so he ruined all.
You saved an innocent man's life, Mr. Holmes, and you prevented a very grave scandal which would have ruined my reputation in the force.
Instead of being ruined, my good sir, you will find that your reputation has been enormously enhanced. Just make a few alterations in your report, and they'll understand how hard it is to throw dust in the eyes of Inspector Lestrade.
You mean it? And you don't want your name to appear?
Not at all. The work is its own reward. Perhaps I shall get the credit also at some distant day, when I permit my zealous historian to lay out his fool's cap once more. Eh, Watson?
Well, all it'll take is a few extra lines to my report, and my work's finished.
Forgive me, Lestrade, but it seems to me that your work is just beginning.
Now, how do you mean, Doctor?
Well, what was it Oldacre put into the woodpile, besides a pair of old trousers?
A dead dog, a couple of rabbits, perhaps.
Or
A passing...
Oh, cabby! Cabby!
The Classic Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Tonight, The Adventure of Wisteria Lodge.
Mr. John Scott Eccles was a bachelor of a sociable turn who had cultivated a large number of friends. While dining at the home of a retired brewer named Melville, he met Aloysius Garcia, a young man of Spanish descent connected in some way with the embassy. They struck up a friendship, and Garcia invited Scott Eccles to spend a few days at his house, Wisteria Lodge, in the heart of Surrey.
I keep a small household, a faithful servant, a fellow countryman who looks after all my needs, and a wonderful cook, a mulatto I picked up on my travels. He serves an excellent dinner.
Sounds a rather peculiar household, if you don't mind my saying so, Mr. Garcia.
You will find it a good deal more peculiar than you think.
Wisteria Lodge proved to be an old, tumbled-down building in a crazy state of disrepair on the south side of Esher. As the trap pulled up on the grass-grown drive in front of the blotched and weather-stained door, Scott Eccles had doubts as to his wisdom in visiting a man he knew so slightly.
Yes, my neighbors, the Sinclairs, he has some interests in the city, I believe. As a matter of fact, there were rumors of a scandal of some sort a few years ago, but it all came to nothing. Mr. Garcia? Mr. Garcia?
Yes, your glass. Antonio!
No, I was just remarking about my neighbors.
What about your neighbors?
Yeah, well, nothing really.
Excuse the delay, Senor Garcia. This message has just arrived.
Let me see.
Not bad news, I hope?
It is nothing. Nothing at all. And now, Mr. Scott Eccles, it is very late. No doubt you will wish to retire.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I suppose so.
In truth, Scott Eccles was glad, since many times in the course of the evening he'd wished he could invent some excuse which would take him back home. Then, sometime during the night, he was awakened by his host knocking at his door.
Mr. Scott Eccles, did you ring?
What? Did I what?
I thought I heard you ring. It seemed odd since it's nearly 1 o'clock.
No, I didn't ring.
Then I was mistaken. My apologies, sir.
After this unusual interruption, Scott Eccles slept soundly for the rest of the night. It was 9 o'clock when he awoke, though he had asked to be called at 8. The reason for this forgetfulness soon became apparent.
Hello? I'd like some hot water. Is there a servant available? Anyone? Hello? Hello?
And the house was completely empty.
Completely, Mr. Holmes. The foreign host, the foreign footman, the foreign cook, all had vanished in the night. I examined Garcia's room. The bed had never been slept in.
Your experience sounds perfectly unique. May I ask, Mr. Scott Eccles, what you did next?
I was furious, Doctor. My first idea was that I'd been the victim of some absurd practical joke. I called at Allen Brothers, the chief land agents in the village, and found that it was from this firm that Wisteria Lodge had been rented.
I wonder. It's late in March. Perhaps the object was to get out of the rent.
But the agent told me that the rent had been paid in advance. Then I made my way to town and called at the Spanish embassy.
Garcia was unknown there.
Yes. After that, I went to see Melville, at whose house I first met Garcia, but I found that he knew rather less about him than I did. Finally, I sent you a telegram, Mr. Holmes, requesting a consultation. Private detectives are a class with whom I have absolutely no sympathy, but nonetheless, having heard your name from my neighbours...
Quiet. On the face of it, the case is not a very complex one, though it certainly presents some novel features, but a further knowledge of the facts is necessary before I would venture to give a final and definite opinion, and in order to obtain that knowledge, we must return to Wisteria Lodge.
It appears the police are already in possession of the house.
Why? I haven't notified them. It didn't appear to be a matter which concerned the police.
Good evening, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Watson. I'd recognise you anywhere. Inspector Baines of the Surrey Constabulary. And you are Mr. John Scott Eccles of Popham House, Lee?
I am. What do you want of me?
I should like a statement as to the events which led up to the death last night of Mr. Aloysius Garcia.
Dead? Did you say he was dead?
An accident, Inspector.
Murder, if there ever was one upon earth. He was found dead this morning upon Oxford Common, nearly a mile from here. It's a lonely corner, and there's no house within a quarter of a mile of the spot. Garcia was struck down from behind by an assailant who went on beating him long after he was dead. It was a most furious assault. His head was smashed to pulp by heavy blows from a sandbag or some such instrument, which crushed rather than wounded.
Footprints?
None, nor any attempted robbery.
This is very painful and terrible. But it's really uncommonly hard on me. I had nothing to do with my host.
We picked up the scent at Charing Cross Post Office.
Good God, this is awful. You don't mean that I'm suspected?
A letter of yours was found in the dead man's pocket, and we know by it that you planned to spend last night at this house.
So I did.
Oh, you did you?
Was there any clue, may I ask, as to the exact hour that the man met his death?
He'd been there since 1 o'clock. There was rain about that time, and his death had certainly been before the rain.
But that is perfectly impossible, Inspector Baines. He addressed me in my bedroom at that very hour. His voice is unmistakable.
Inspector, surely all you desire is a plain statement?
And it is my duty to warn him that it may be used against him. I think we'd best put this matter into an official shape.
Inspector!
What's the matter, Walters?
I was in the kitchen, and I saw it.
It?
The devil, for all I know. It was at the window.
What was at the window?
Just now. I don't know what made me look up, but there was a face looking at me through the lower pane. Oh, Lord, so what a face it was. I'll see it in my dreams.
This is not talk for a police constable, Walters.
I know, sir, I know, but it shook me, sir. It had teeth like a hungry beast. I tell you, sir, I couldn't move a finger nor get my breath till it was gone.
If it were the devil himself, I'd still expect a constable to lay his hand upon him. Well, whoever it may have been, and whatever he may have wanted is gone for the present. And we have more immediate things to attend to. Mr. Scott Eccles, Constable Walters will take you to the station where you can let us have your statement in writing. Or perhaps you should take Constable Walters.
Yeah, certainly. But I retain your services, Mr. Holmes. I desire you to spare no expense and no pains to get at the truth.
I suppose that you have no objection to my collaborating with you, Baines?
Highly honoured, sir, I'm sure. Now, if you and Dr. Watson would care to join me in the house, there are some things I'd like you to see.
Our own colours, green and white. Green open, white shut. Main stair, first corridor, 7th right, green bays, God speed D. Very remarkable note.
Our client informed us that Garcia rolled it up and threw it into the fire. How did you come to have it, Inspector?
It was a dog grate, Mr. Holmes, and he overpitched it. I picked it out unburnt from the back.
You must have examined the house very carefully to find a single pellet of paper.
It's my way, Doctor.
This is an assignation. We may find a jealous husband at the bottom of it all.
The note has been written by a woman upon ordinary cream-laid quarter sheet of paper without watermark. The paper is cut off in 2 snips with a short-bladed scissors. It's been folded over 3 times and sealed with purple wax, put on hurriedly and pressed down with some flat oval object. The address is thicker and bolder, suggesting that it was either done with another pen or written by someone else.
I must compliment you, Baines, upon your attention to detail. A few trifling points might perhaps be added. The oval seal is undoubtedly a plain sleeve link, and the paper was cut with bent nail scissors. Short as the 2 snips are, you can distinctly see the same slight curve in each.
Well, I thought I'd squeezed all the juice out of it, but I see there was a little left over. I'm bound to say that I make nothing of the note, except that there was something on hand and that a woman was at the bottom of it. As usual.
Well, the discovery of the note certainly corroborates Mr. Scott Eccles' story, but it doesn't bring us closer to knowing who killed Garcia, nor what's become of the household.
Did you find anything remarkable besides this note in your examination of the house, Inspector?
1 or 2 very remarkable things. Perhaps you'd care to give me your opinion of them. I invite your attention to the kitchen. Look at this. What do you make of it?
A white cockerel. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Someone has torn this bird to pieces and cut its head off. Why should anyone do something so appalling?
There's more, Doctor. Let me shine the light over here.
My God.
What do you make of it, Watson?
Huh? It was alive once, but it's so shrunken and withered, it's difficult to say what it might have been. Whatever it is, it appears to be mummified. And without a proper scientific examination, I shouldn't care to hazard a guess as to whether these remains are animal or human.
I kept the most sinister exhibit for last, gentlemen. The pail contains blood, and the platter is heaped with pieces of charred bone. Something has been killed and burnt.
A lamb, I should say, or a kid.
Holmes, what's been going on in this house? They must have been very strange people with some very strange ways. Now one of them is dead and the others are missing. Did his companions kill him?
I take it every port is watched.
They are. But I must say I have my own particular views.
You have a theory, then?
I do, Mr. Holmes, and I'll work it myself. I should be glad to say afterwards that I solved it without your help.
Well, Inspector, I think that I have seen all I wish, and now I think my time may be more profitably employed elsewhere. Au revoir, and good luck.
Holmes, we've been in Oxford for 5 days and we're no nearer to finding Garcia's murderer.
Surely our time in the country has not been a waste for you, Watson. It's very pleasant to see the first green shoots upon the hedges and the catkins on the hazels once again. With a spud, a tin box, and an elementary book on botany, there are instructive days to be spent.
Where exactly are we going?
To the Bull Inn.
Bull Inn? Have you forgotten our promise to Scott Eccles?
My dear Watson, you know how bored I've been since we locked up Colonel Carruthers. My mind is like a racing engine, tearing itself to pieces because it is not connected up with the work for which it was built.
And yet we're going to the local inn.
There to meet with one John Warner, former gardener at Highgable. I found there are no better instruments for gossip than discharged servants with a grievance.
Highgable?
The famous old Jacobean Grange, 1 mile to the farther side of Oxford, and less than half a mile from the scene of the tragedy. The owner, Mr. Henderson, is by all accounts a curious man to whom curious adventures might befall.
Henderson, he's a man of about 50, gentleman, strong, active, with iron grey hair, great bunched black eyebrows, and an air of an emperor. He's either a foreigner, he's lived long in the tropics. Where he came from or what his business is, nobody has any idea, but he's a great traveler, always on the move. It's only within the last few weeks that he's returned to Highgable after a year's absence.
Excellent, Mr. Warner, excellent. Landlord, another drink for our friend.
Yeah. But he has a red-hot spirit. Twice he's lashed at folk with his dog whip, and only his long purse and heavy compensation have kept him out of the courts.
You seem to know a good deal about your master's affairs for an ex-gardener.
I have friends among the indoor servants, Doctor. They're united in their fear and dislike of the man. It was a lucky day for me when he sacked me in a moment of temper. Well, your good health, sir.
Thus, we have a key to the secrets of the establishment, Watson.
I still don't see a connection.
And the rest of the household, Mr. Warner? Describe them.
Well, the secretary, Mr. Lucas, he's definitely a foreigner. He acts like Henderson's shadow. The gossip among the servants is that the master's terribly afraid of something. Sold his soul to the devil in exchange for money, is what they say, and expects his creditor to come up and claim his own.
A singular set of people. And what of Highgable itself?
Well, it's a double-winged house. The servants live on one side, the family on the other. There's no link between the two, save for one connecting door. The governess and Mr. Henderson's 2 children hardly go out at all, except into the garden.
Governess?
Yes, Miss Burnett, an Englishwoman of 40 or thereabout. But here's the funny thing, Mr. Holmes. Miss Burnett hasn't been seen by any human eye for several days now. It's as if she's just vanished.
Most sinister. Tell me, Warner, did Miss Burnett disappear after the murder of Mr. Garcia?
Well, let me think. Yes, the very next day.
Ha! What do you say to that, Watson? Add to this 2 sets of foreigners, one at Wisteria Lodge and the other at Highgable, and the gaps begin to close.
I should still call it tenuous, Holmes.
If you're talking about Mr. Garcia's murder, Henderson didn't have anything to do with that, sir.
You sound very certain of that, Warner.
I am, on account of Inspector Baines arrested Garcia's cook for the murder last night. Haven't you seen the papers?
Ah, Mr. Holmes, you've seen the paper, I take it.
Yes, Baines, I've seen it.
This fellow, the mulatto cook, is the one Constable Walters saw through the window. I decided that since he had the audacity to return to Wisteria Lodge after the murder, he might do so again. He's as strong as a cart horse and as fierce as the devil. Nearly chewed Constable Downing's thumb off before we could master him. He hardly speaks a word of English, and we can get nothing out of him but grunts.
Inspector, don't think it a liberty if I give you a word of friendly warning. I've looked into this case with some care, and I'm not convinced that you're on the right lines. I don't want you to commit yourself unless you're sure.
Very kind, Mr. Holmes.
I assure you I speak for your own good.
We agreed to work on our own lines, Mr. Holmes. That's what I'm doing.
Then don't blame me if a charge of murder against the cook comes to nothing.
Subdue him, Higgins! No, sir. I believe you mean well by me. But we all have our own systems. You have yours, and I have mine.
Very well, Baines. But my results are at your service if you care to apply for them.
Well, Hunt?
I can't make the man out. He seems to be riding for a fall, Watson. Well, we must each try our own way and see what comes of it. There's something in Inspector Baines I can't quite understand.
And then there's this Miss Burnett and the note.
Indeed. Is she alive? Has she perhaps met her end on the same night as Garcia? Or is she merely a prisoner? There is the point we still have to decide. But her disappearance counts for nothing, since in that extraordinary household any member might be invisible for a week. And yet she may be in danger of her life. You appreciate the difficulty of the situation, Watson?
I do. There's nothing upon which we can apply for a warrant. It'd seem fantastic if we laid it before a magistrate. And I have to say, I don't fully understand it.
We can't let such a situation continue. If the law can do nothing, we must take the risk ourselves.
What do you suggest?
We must go to Highgable and see if we can strike at the very heart of the mystery.
We got it just in time. See the cab? They're getting ready to leave.
Miss Burnett's room is up there. It's accessible from the top of that outhouse. Of course, legally, we're putting ourselves in a false position.
If you're certain she's in danger, Holmes, that's good enough for me.
Are you armed, old fellow?
Unfortunately, no. I didn't see the reason for bringing
Let go of me!
They've got her.
Come on, Watson! Stop! Stop! Stop that cab! Hold up, driver! Hold up!
Let's go, that woman!
Watson, the door!
Yes,
the door!
Give me a hand!
Thank you, Doctor. You've got me the very evidence I wanted.
Baines, where did you spring from?
Oh, I was up one of the trees watching you and the doctor crawl through the shrubbery. It was just a question of who'd get to Miss Burnett first. How is the lady, Doctor?
There's nothing broken, thank heaven, but she's being drugged. It'll be a while before she's in a fit state to give you a statement, Inspector.
May I suggest we repair to the police station?
Don't you think the railway station would be a more appropriate, Baines? Henderson obviously intends to catch the last train.
No need, Mr. Holmes. I've had a plainclothes man waiting at the station all week. Wherever the Highgable folk go, he'll keep them in sight.
So, you were on the same scent from the first, Inspector?
I was, Doctor.
Then why did you arrest the mulatto cook?
I was sure Henderson, as he calls himself, would lie low and make no move so long as he thought he was in any danger. I arrested the wrong man to make him believe our eyes were off him. I knew he'd be likely to clear off and then give us a chance at getting at Miss Burnett. We can't make an arrest without her evidence, however, so the sooner we get her statement, the better.
She grows stronger every minute, Holmes. Who is this man Henderson?
I'm afraid I've no idea, Watson.
He is Don Murillo, the Tiger of San Pedro.
I see. The Tiger of San Pedro. Perhaps the most bloodthirsty tyrant that had ever governed any country with a pretense to civilization. His name was a terror through all Central America. He imposed his odious vices upon a cowering people for 10 years.
12.
At the end of that time, there was a universal rising against him. But he was as cunning as he was cruel. And at the first whisper of trouble, he secretly conveyed his treasures aboard a ship manned by devoted adherents. It was an empty palace the insurgents stormed the next day. The dictator, his 2 children, his secretary, and his wealth had all escaped them. From that moment, he vanished from the world.
We discovered him a year ago.
Miss Burnett, but how came you into this matter? How can an English lady join in such a murderous affair?
I join it because there's no other way in the world by which justice can be gained. What does the law of England care for the rivers of blood shed years ago in San Pedro, or for the shipload of treasure this man has stolen? To you, they're like crimes committed on some other planet. But we know. We've learned the truth in sorrow and suffering. To us there is no fiend in hell like Juan Murillo, and no peace in life while his victims still cry for vengeance.
How are you affected?
My real name is Senora de Victor Dorando. My husband was the San Pedro minister in London. A nobler man never lived upon the earth. Murillo's policy was to murder every man who showed such promise that he might come to be a dangerous rival.
And he heard of your husband's excellence.
He recalled him on some pretext and had him shot. His estates were confiscated, and I was left with a pittance and a broken heart. And then came the downfall of the tyrant. He escaped, but the many whose lives he had ruined, whose nearest and dearest had suffered torture and death at his hands, would not let the matter rest. We banded ourselves into a society which should never be dissolved until the work was done.
No doubt. After you discovered his new identity, it was your part to attach yourself to his household and keep the others in touch with his movements.
He little knew that the woman who faced him at every meal was the woman whose husband he had hurried into eternity. I smiled on him, did my duty to his children, and bided my time. He zigzagged here and there across Europe to throw off the pursuers, before finally returning to this house. But Garcia, who is the son of the former highest dignitary in San Pedro, was waiting with 2 trusty companions of humble station. He could do little during the day, for Murillo took every precaution and never went out save with his satellite Lucas, or Lopez, as he was known in the days of his greatness. At night, however, he slept alone, each time in a different room.
Then, on a certain prearranged evening, you sent Garcia final instructions.
I was to see that the doors were open, and the signal of a green or white light in a window was to give notice if all was safe, or if the attempt had to be postponed.
Green and white. Same colors as the San Pedro flag. But in some way you excited your employer's suspicion.
Lopez sprang upon me just as I'd finished the note. He and his master dragged me to my room and held judgment upon me as a convicted traitress. Then and there they would have plunged their knives into me, could they have seen how to escape the consequences of the deed. Finally, after much debate, they concluded that my murder was too dangerous. But they determined to get rid of Garcia. Murillo twisted my arm round until I gave him the address. Lopez addressed my note, sealed it with his sleeve link, and sent it by the hand of the servant, Jose.
Which one murdered Garcia?
It was Murillo's hand that struck him down. Lopez remained to guard me. At first they were of a mind to let him enter the house and kill him as a burglar, but they argued that if they were mixed up in an inquiry, their own identities would be publicly disclosed. I have no doubt that there were times when my life hung in the balance. I was confined to my room, terrorized by the most horrible threats, cruelly ill-used to break my spirit.
I observed the bruises and stab wound on your shoulder.
Now, thank God, I am beyond Murillo's power forever. Once already his life was attempted, but some evil spirit shielded him. Now it is the noble Garcia who has fallen, while the monster goes safe. But another will come, and another, until some day justice will be done. It is as certain as the rise of tomorrow's sun.
And now, legal work begins.
A plausible lawyer could make out a case for self-defense. There may be hundreds of crimes in the background, but it is only on this one that they can be tried.
Come, Doctor. I think better of the law than that. Self-defense is one thing, but to entice a man in cold blood with the object of murdering him is another. No. We shall all be justified when we see the tenants of Highgable at the next Guildford Assizes.
I must congratulate you, Inspector, on handling so distinctive a case. Your powers, if I may say so without offence, seem superior to your opportunities.
You're right about that, Mr. Holmes. We stagnate in the provinces. A case of this sort gives a man a chance. Your name is made, but I have still to make mine.
A reminiscence of Mr. Sherlock Holmes. No. Wisteria Lodge. No. Wisteria Lodge.
The Murillo case, Watson.
Yes. I noticed you received a letter from Inspector Baines this morning, and it put me in mind to write the business up. Or to try, at any rate.
Simple as it was in its leading features, it nonetheless presented some surprising difficulties.
Simple? How can I possibly present this to the readers of the Strand? It's such a chaotic case. It covers 2 continents, concerns 2 groups of mysterious persons, and it's even further complicated by the highly respectable presence of Mr. John Scott Eccles.
Ah, yes.
Perhaps if I wrote it as a 2-parter. Of course, I'd have to find a way of explaining why neither you nor Baines suspected Garcia's servants of his murder. I don't suppose you could help me with that?
You do yourself an injustice, Watson. I'm sure it must have occurred to you that if they were in a conspiracy against their master, they would surely not have attacked him on the one night when he had a guest. They had him alone at their mercy every other night in the week.
Ah, yes, of course. But Scott Eccles' involvement.
A crucial point. Why was he invited to spend the night at Wisteria Lodge? You must admit that the idea of a practical joke was impossible. There were grave events afoot, as the sequel showed. Let us take it link by link. There is, on the face of it, something unnatural about this strange and sudden friendship between the young Spaniard and Scott Eccles. It was the former who forced the pace. Now, what did he want with Eccles? What could Eccles supply?
I could see no charm in the man. He's not especially intelligent or congenial company.
Then why was he picked out from all the other people Garcia met as particularly suited to his purpose? Has he any one outstanding quality? I say he has. He is the very type of conventional English respectability, and the very man as a witness to impress another Englishman.
But he witnessed nothing.
Because events did not go according to plan.
You mean Garcia wanted him as an alibi?
Exactly, my dear Watson. The attempt on Murillo's life was to have occurred at 1 o'clock.
So, when Garcia went out of his way to tell Scott Eccles that it was 1...
It was really not more than 12. Thus, Garcia would have a powerful reply to any accusation. Here was this irreproachable Englishman ready to swear in any court of law that the accused was in the house all the time. And there again we have further proof of the servant's innocence, for it was Garcia who had arranged for the presence of Scott Eccles. It was Garcia, then, who had a criminal enterprise in hand that night, in the course of which he met his death. Who, then, was most likely to have taken his life? Surely the person against whom the criminal enterprise was directed. And the servants would not have fled unless they were all confederates in the same crime.
But the mulatto cook returned.
To retrieve something precious, something which he could not bear to part with. You remember the torn bird, the pail of blood, the charred bones?
I'm hardly likely to forget it.
Well, The true voodoo worshipper attempts nothing of importance without certain sacrifices to his gods.
Voodoo?
I refer you to Professor Ekman's excellent volume upon the subject. He states that the usual victims are a white cockerel or a black goat whose throat is cut and body burned. The cook was a primitive savage from the backwoods of San Pedro, and this was his fetish, but he was very orthodox in his ritual. It's grotesque, I know, but there is but one step from the grotesque to the horrible.
Mm. And the message sent to Garcia, how did it run? Our own colours, green and white, green open.
Green open, white shut. Main stair, first corridor, seventh right, green bays. Godspeed, D.
Yes, thank you. When did you realize it came from Miss Burnett?
The very moment I heard her name. The message could not have been written by a Spaniard, or it would have been in Spanish. Therefore, the writer was English, and the mission was certainly a dangerous one, or she would not have said Godspeed. Her age and character ruled out the possibility of a love interest. Who else could Garcia's confederate in High Gable have been but Miss Burnett?
Well, you still haven't explained how you came to identify High Gable as the source of the mischief.
The note, Watson. Main stair, first corridor, seventh right, green bays. Now, if one has to ascend a main stair and seek the seventh door in a corridor, it's perfectly clear that the house is a very large one. It's equally certain that this house cannot be more than a mile or two from Oxford, since Garcia was walking in that direction and hoped to be back in Wisteria Lodge in time to avail himself of an alibi which would only be valid up to 1 o'clock. I adopted the obvious method of sending to the local land agents and obtaining a list of all the large houses close to Oxford. Our first days in the village were devoted to a series of walks, during which I made a reconnaissance of those houses and an examination of the family history of the occupants. One house, and only one, riveted my attention. The others belonged to prosaic and respectable people who live far aloof from romance. I concentrated my attention, therefore, upon Mr. Henderson of Highgable and his household.
All of whom escaped after giving the police the slip in London.
But not for long, Watson. Bain's letter contained this report of the murder of the Marquis of Montalva and his secretary, Signor Rulli, in their rooms at the Hotel Escorial at Madrid. But I think you'll recognize them from their photographs.
Oh, yes. Indeed I do. It seems that justice, if belated, has come at last to the tiger of San Pedro.
You have just heard The Adventure of Wisteria Lodge by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, adapted by M.J. Eliot, and starring John Patrick Lowry as Sherlock Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. John H. Watson, with Jeff Steitzer in the role of Mr. John Scott Eccles. Also heard were Dennis Bateman as Inspector Baines, Jim French as Warner, Jaime Mendez as Garcia, and Katrina Baxter Hodiak as Miss Burnett. Other parts were played by members of the cast. Incidental music was by Michael Lynch. Our violinist is Coral Sepulveda. The use of the characters of Holmes and Watson is by arrangement with the estate of Dame Jean Conan Doyle, with production by Jim French and direction by Dennis Bateman. The Classic Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is a copyrighted feature of Jim French Productions.
In the time of the Great Rebellion, the manor of Baskerville was held by Hugo of that name, a most wild, profane, and godless man. It chanced that this Hugo desired the daughter of a yeoman who held lands near the Baskerville estate, but the young maiden would ever avoid him, for she feared his evil name. So it came to pass that one Michaelmas, Sir Hugo, with several of his idle and wicked companions, stole down upon the farm and carried off the maiden, then brought her back to the hall and placed her in an upper chamber, while Hugo and his friends sat down to a long carouse, as was their nightly custom.
Bring me the girl!
In the stress of her fear, the maiden did what might have daunted the bravest or most active man, for by the aid of a growth of ivy which covered the south wall, she climbed down from her window and homeward across the moor to her father's farm. And so Sir Hugo found the cage empty, and the bird escaped.
She's gone. Damn her! I swear that I will this very night render my body and soul to the powers of evil, if I might but overtake the wench. Tell my grooms to saddle my mare, and unkennel the pack!
He set off full cry in the moonlight over the moor. Sense came back to the crazed mind of the revelers, and the whole of them, 13 in number, took horse and started in pursuit. They'd gone a mile or two when they passed one of the night shepherds upon the moorlands, and cried to him to know if he'd seen the hunt.
I saw that unhappy maiden, with the dogs upon her track. But I've seen more than that. For Sir Hugo Baskerville passed me upon his black mare, and there ran mute behind him. Such a hound of hell as God forbid should ever be at my heels.
Damn you, get out of the way, old man!
The company cursed the shepherd and rode onward, eventually coming to a halt at a broad space in which stood two of those great stones set by certain forgotten peoples in the days of old. The moon was shining bright upon the clearing, and there in the center lay the unhappy maid, dead where she had fallen of fear and fatigue. But it was not the sight of her body, nor yet was it the body of Hugo Baskerville lying near her, which raised the hair upon their heads. But standing over Hugo, plucking at his throat, there stood a foul thing. A great black beast shaped like a hound, yet larger than any hound that ever mortal eyes had rested upon. And even as they looked, the thing tore out the throat of Hugo Baskerville and turned its blazing eyes and dripping jaws upon them.
The Classic Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, featuring John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson. Tonight, Part 1 of The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes, who was usually very late in the mornings, save upon those infrequent occasions when he was up all night, was seated at the breakfast table. I stood upon the hearth rug and picked up the stick which our visitor had left behind him the night before. It was a fine, thick piece of wood, bulbous-headed, of the sort which is known as a Penang lawyer. It was just such a stick as the old-fashioned family practitioner used to carry, dignified, solid, and reassuring.
Well, Watson, what do you make of it?
Honestly, Holmes, I do believe you have eyes in the back of your head.
I have at least a well-polished, silver-plated coffee pot in front of me.
To James Mortimer, MRCS, from his friends of the CCH, 1884.
Since we've been so unfortunate as to miss our visitor last night and have no notion of his errand, this accidental souvenir becomes of importance.
How so? It's just a stick.
No man can have an object in his possession for long without impressing his individuality upon it. Let me hear you reconstruct the man by an examination of it.
Me?
You know my methods. Apply them.
Well, very well then. Let me see. I think this Dr. Mortimer is a successful elderly medical man, well esteemed, since those who know him gave him this stick as a mark of their appreciation.
Good. Excellent.
He is a country practitioner who does a great deal of visiting on foot.
Why so?
Well, this stick's been so knocked about I can hardly imagine a town practitioner carrying it, and the iron ferrule is worn down. So he evidently does a lot of walking with it.
Perfectly sound.
Then there's this, Friends of the CCH. I should say that's something or the hunt, the local hunt, to whose members he's given some surgical assistance, and which has made him this presentation in return.
Really, Watson, you excel yourself. I am bound to say you habitually underrate your abilities. It may be that you're not yourself luminous, but you are a conductor of light. Some people without possessing genius have a remarkable power of stimulating it. I confess, my dear fellow, I'm deeply in your debt. May I?
Oh, yes, of course. Has anything escaped me? I trust I've overlooked nothing of consequence.
I'm afraid, my dear Watson, that most of your conclusions were erroneous.
Oh?
Not that you're entirely wrong. The man is certainly a country practitioner, and he walks a good deal.
Then I was right.
To that extent. But a presentation to a Dr. Mortimer, member of the Royal College of Surgeons, is more likely to come from a hospital than from a hunt, and when the initials CC are placed before that hospital, the words Charing Cross very naturally suggest themselves.
You may be right. Then he practiced in town before moving to the country.
And obviously, his friends united to give him this pledge of their goodwill at the moment he withdrew from the service of the hospital. He couldn't have been on the staff, since only a man well established in London practice could hold such a position. And he wouldn't then drift into the country. He could only have been a house surgeon or a house physician, little more than a senior student. And he left 5 years ago, the date's on the stick. So your grave, middle-aged family practitioner vanishes into thin air, Watson, and there emerges a young fellow, under 30, amiable, unambitious, absent-minded, and possessor of a favourite dog, which is larger than a terrier and smaller than a mastiff.
Oh, surely we're getting into the regions of pure speculation.
Only an amiable man receives testimonials. Only an unambitious one abandons a London career for the country. And only an absent-minded one leaves his stick and not his visiting card after waiting an hour in our rooms.
And the dog?
Has been in the habit of carrying the stick behind his master. See? The marks of the teeth are plainly visible. The dog's jaw, as shown in the space between the marks, is too broad for a terrier, and not broad enough for a mastiff. A curly-haired spaniel, I should say.
Curly-haired? My dear fellow, how can you possibly be so sure of that?
For the simple reason that I see the dog himself on our very doorstep. And there is the ring of its owner. Now is the dramatic moment of fate, Watson, when you hear a step upon the stair which is walking into your life, and you know not whether for good or ill. What does Dr. James Mortimer, the man of science, ask of Sherlock Holmes, the specialist in crime? Come in.
Dr. Mortimer is here again, German.
Very good. Show him in, Mrs. Hudson.
My stick! Oh, I'm so very glad. I wasn't sure whether I'd left it here or in the shipping office. I'm so frightfully absent-minded. I wouldn't lose that stick for the world.
A presentation, I see.
Yes.
From Charing Cross Hospital.
That's correct.
Not the local hunt, Watson.
Yes, it was given to me on the occasion of my marriage.
Dear, dear, that's very bad.
Bad? But how?
Only that you've disarranged our little deductions. You're married, you say?
Yes, I married and left the hospital, and with it all hopes of a consulting practice. It was necessary to make a home of my own, you see.
Well, we're not so far wrong after all. And now, Dr. James Mortimer.
Merely a humble MRCS, sir.
And a man of precise mind, evidently.
A dabbler in science, Mr. Holmes. A picker-up of shells on the shores of the great unknown ocean. I beg your pardon, but you interest me very much, Mr. Holmes. I hardly expected so dolichocephallic a skull, or such well-marked supraorbital development. Would you have any objection to my running my finger along your parietal fissure? A cast of your skull would be a valuable addition to any anthropological museum, until the original becomes available, of course. It's not my intention to be fulsome, but I confess that I covet your skull.
Dr. Mortimer, sit down and behave yourself. You are an enthusiast in your line of thought, as I am in mine. I observe from your forefinger that you make your own cigarettes. Have no hesitation in lighting one.
Thank you. I'd rather not at the moment, Mr. Holmes.
I presume, sir, that it was not merely for the purpose of examining my skull that you called here last night and again today.
I came to you because I recognized that you are the second highest expert in Europe.
Oh, dear.
Indeed, sir. I inquire who has the honour to be the first.
To a man of precisely scientific mind, it must surely be Monsieur Alphonse Bertillon, the discoverer of the fingerprint.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Then had you not better consult him?
Oh, I said, sir, to the precisely scientific mind. But as a practical man of affairs, it is acknowledged that you stand alone.
I think, Dr. Mortimer, you would do wisely if, without more ado, you would kindly tell us the exact nature of the problem in which you demand our assistance.
I have in my pocket a manuscript.
I observed it as you entered the room.
It is a very old manuscript.
Early 18th century, unless it's a forgery. I put it at 1730, or a little later.
1742, sir. This family paper was committed to my care by Sir Charles Baskerville, whose sudden and tragic death some 3 months ago created so much excitement in Devonshire. I may say that I was his personal friend, as well as his medical attendant. He was a strong-minded man, sir, shrewd, practical, and as unimaginative as I am myself. Yet he took this document very seriously, and his mind was prepared for just such an end as did eventually overtake him.
It appears to be a statement of some sort.
Of certain legend which runs in the Baskerville family. The manuscript is short and is intimately connected with the affair. With your permission, I will read it to you. Mr. Holmes?
Please continue, Doctor. It's Mr. Holmes's method to absorb all relevant details with his eyes shut tight.
In the time of the Great Rebellion, the manor of Baskerville was held by Hugo of that name, a most wild, profane, and godless man. It chanced that this Hugo desired the daughter of a yeoman who held lands near the Baskerville estate. the thing tore the throat out of Hugo Baskerville and turned its blazing eyes and dripping jaws upon them. One man died that very night of what he had seen, and the others were but broken men for the rest of their days.
Highly unlikely.
Such is the tale of the coming of the hound, which is said to have plagued the Baskervilles so sorely ever since. Nor can it be denied that many of the family have been unhappy in their deaths, which have been sudden, bloody, and mysterious. I hereby commend you to forbear from crossing the moor in those dark hours when the powers of evil are exalted.
Well?
Do you not find the story interesting?
For a collector of fairy tales.
But surely fairy tales would not survive without a kernel of truth.
Watson, this might appeal to your lurid sense of fiction.
Really, Holmes?
Dr. Mortimer, I hope it's something more modern and practical upon which you wish to consult me.
Or most modern. A most practical pressing matter, which must be decided within 24 hours. You describe the legend as a fairy tale, Mr. Holmes. The death of Sir Charles Baskerville was no fairy tale.
Yes, I had observed some newspaper comment at the time, but I was exceedingly preoccupied by that little affair of the Vatican cameos, and in my anxiety to oblige the Pope, I'm afraid I rather lost touch with matters closer to home.
Sir Charles died of heart failure, did he not?
A hereditary condition. His health had been impaired for some time.
Was there any reason whatever to suspect foul play?
None. And no reason to imagine that death could be from any but natural causes. Sir Charles was a widower, and in spite of his considerable wealth, he was simple in his personal tastes. His servants at Baskerville Hall consisted of a married couple named Barrymore, the husband acting as the butler and the wife as housekeeper. The moor is very sparsely inhabited, and those who live near each other are thrown very much together. For this reason, I saw a good deal of Sir Charles Baskerville. With the exception of Mr. Frankland of Lofter Hall and Mr. Stapleton the naturalist, there are no other men of education within many miles. Sir Charles was a retiring man, but the chance of his illness brought us together, and the community of interests in science kept us so. Within these last few months, it became increasingly plain to me that Sir Charles's nervous system was strained to the breaking point. He had taken this legend exceedingly to heart, so much so that nothing would induce him to go out upon the moor at night.
So he was honestly convinced that a dreadful fate overhung his family?
Yes. Certainly the records he was able to give of his ancestors were not encouraging. Hence my conversation with Stapleton.
You really think this superstition is having an effect upon his health?
I do, Jack. The constant anxiety is putting him under tremendous strain.
Damn me. Well, what do you recommend?
A change of scenery. I think a few months among the distractions of town, and he'll come back a new man.
London, eh? Well, that strikes me as a splendid idea. If you like, I'll even make the arrangements.
And then came the catastrophe. This is the Devon County Chronicle of June 14th of this year.
The recent sudden death of Sir Charles Baskerville, whose name had been mentioned as the probable Liberal candidate for Mid-Devon at the next election, has cast a gloom over the county.
That article contains all the public facts concerning the death of Sir Charles Baskerville.
Let me have the private ones.
In doing so, I am telling that which I have not confided to anyone. Sir Charles was in the habit every night of walking down the yew alley. At 12 o'clock, Barrymore, finding the hall door still open, became alarmed. The night was damp and raw.
But not actually raining?
No. Sir Charles' footmarks were easily traced down the alley. Halfway down this walk, there is a gate which leads out to the moor. There were indications that Sir Charles had stood there for 5 or 10 minutes.
How do you know that?
Because the ash had twice dropped from his cigar.
Excellent. This is a colleague, Watson, after our own heart.
Barrymore said that it appeared from the tracks as though his master proceeded down the alley upon his tiptoes. It was at the far end that his body was discovered. Perkins, the groom, was sent to fetch me. The body had not been touched until my arrival. Sir Charles lay on his face, his arms out, his fingers dug into the ground, and his features were convulsed with some strong emotion to such an extent that I could hardly have sworn to his identity.
Well, quite common in cases of dyspnea and death from cardiac exhaustion.
There was one false statement made by Barrymore at the inquest. He said that there were no traces upon the ground near the body. Perhaps he did not observe any, but I did. Some little distance off, but fresh and clear.
Footprints?
Footprints, Dr. Watson.
A man's or a woman's?
Mr. Holmes, they were the footprints of a gigantic hound.
A hound?
Of such size and proportion as I have never seen.
You saw this?
As clearly as I see you.
And you said nothing?
What was the use? And a man of science shrinks from placing himself in the public position of seeming to endorse a popular superstition.
These prints, how was it that no one else saw them?
The marks were some 20 yards from the body.
You say the creature was large?
Enormous.
But it had not approached the body?
No.
And there were no witnesses?
A gypsy horse dealer named Murphy was on the moor at no great distance at the time. He heard cries, but was unable to state from what direction they came.
If only I had been there. It is an extraordinary case. And now that path upon which I might have read so much has been smudged by the rain and defaced by the clogs of curious peasants. Oh, Dr. Mortimer, to think you should not have called me in. You indeed have much to answer for.
Well, I could not have called you in, Mr. Holmes, without disclosing these facts to the world. And besides, there is a realm in which the most acute and most experienced of detectives is helpless.
You mean that the thing is supernatural?
I did not say so.
But you think it?
I've learned that before the terrible event occurred, several people had seen a creature upon the moor which corresponds with this Baskerville demon, and which could not possibly be any animal known to science. They all agreed that it was a huge creature, luminous, ghastly, and spectral. I have cross-examined these men, one of them a hard-headed countryman, one a farrier, and one a moorland farmer, who all tell the same story of this dreadful apparition, exactly corresponding to the hellhound of the legend. I assure you that there is a reign of terror in the district, and that it is a hardy man who will cross the moor at night.
And you, a trained man of science, believe it to be supernatural?
I do not know what to believe.
I have hitherto confined my investigations to this world. In a modest way I have combated evil, but take on the father of evil himself would perhaps be too ambitious a task.
You must admit that the footprints were material.
The original hound was material enough to tug a man's throat out, Doctor. Yet he was diabolical in nature.
Why have you come to consult me at all? You tell me in the same breath that it is useless to investigate Sir Charles' death, and then that you desire me to do so.
I did not say I desired you to do so.
Then how can I assist you?
By advising me to what I should do with Sir Henry Baskerville, who arrives at Waterloo Station in exactly 1 hour and a quarter.
Is he the heir?
The son of Sir Charles' late brother, who died young. Sir Henry has been farming in Canada.
There is no other claimant?
None. There was one other brother, Roger, the black sheep of the family. He made England too hot to hold him, fled to Central America, and died in 1876 of yellow fever. Henry is the last of the Baskervilles.
Then why should he not go to the home of his fathers?
Every Baskerville who goes there meets with an evil fate.
But surely, if your supernatural theory be correct, Sir Henry could be in as much danger in London as easily as in Devonshire. A devil with merely local powers like a parish vestry is inconceivable.
You put the matter more flippantly, Mr. Holmes, than you would probably do if you were brought into personal contact with these things. What, then, would you recommend?
I recommend, sir, that you take a cab, call off your spaniel who is scratching at my front door, and proceed to Waterloo to meet Sir Henry Baskerville. At 10 o'clock tomorrow, call upon me here, and bring Sir Henry with you.
I will do so, Mr. Holmes. Good day to you both.
Good day to you, Doctor.
One more question, please. You say that before Sir Charles Baskerville's death, several people saw this apparition upon the moor. Has anyone seen it since?
No.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello, York. Hello, boy.
This is really splendid. Quite unique from some points of view. A most singular problem, Watson.
A singular client, too. He was most impressed by your deductions concerning the manuscript.
You may possibly have read my little monograph upon the subject. The alternative use of the long S and the short enabled me to fix the date. It would be a poor expert who could not do so to within a decade or so.
Yes, of course.
Going out, Watson?
Unless I can help you.
No, my dear fellow. It is at the hour of action that I turn to you for aid. When you pass Bradley's, would you ask him to send up a pound of the strongest shag tobacco? Thank you. Don't forget Dr. Mortimer's stick when you leave.
His stick? Oh, good grief. Dr. Mortimer! Dr. Mortimer, your stick!
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Watson, I was just about to serve tea.
I'm afraid it'll have to wait, Mrs. Hudson. Mr. Holmes is engaged on the greatest case of his career.
Oh, mercy. It always is.
Morning, Holmes.
It's cold, Watson.
No, it's this poisonous atmosphere.
Yes, I suppose it is a bit thick, now that you mention it.
Thick? It's intolerable.
It's a singular thing. But I find that a concentrated atmosphere helps concentration of thought. I haven't pushed it to the length of getting into a box to think, but that's the logical outcome of my convictions.
Well, I'm opening a window.
I have been to Devonshire.
In spirit?
Exactly. After you left, I sent Billy the page for the ordnance map of this portion of the moor. My spirit has hovered over it all day.
So it seems that in your absence, your body has consumed 2 pots of coffee and an incredible amount of tobacco. This is a large-scale map?
Very large. This is Baskerville Hall in the middle. The yew alley stretches along this line. And to the right?
The moor.
This small clump of buildings here is the hamlet of Grimpen, where our friend Dr. Mortimer has his headquarters. Within a radius of 5 miles, there are only a few scattered dwellings. Here is Lafter Hall, home to Mr. Franklin. There is the residence of the naturalist Stapleton. Then, 14 miles away, the great convict prison of Princetown.
14 miles? Well, that place needn't play any part in your equations, then.
This, then, is the stage upon which the tragedy has been played, and upon which we may hope to play it again. The thing takes shape, Watson.
It must be a wild place.
The setting is a worthy one. If the devil did desire to have a hand in the affairs of men...
Now, don't tell me you're inclining to the supernatural explanation.
The devil's agents may be of flesh and blood. Have you turned the case over in your mind?
Yes, I've thought a good deal about it. It's certainly very bewildering.
It has a character all its own. There are points of distinction about it. Come in!
Oh, Dr. Mortimer.
I apologize if we're slightly late, gentlemen. It's these confounded horse buses. Dr. Watson, Mr. Holmes, may I introduce Sir Henry Baskerville?
Why, yes. And the strange thing is, Mr. Holmes, that if my friend here had not proposed coming round to you this morning, I should have come on my own account. I understand that you think out little puzzles.
Well,
I have one which wants more thinking out than I'm able to give it. This letter, if you can call it a letter, reached me this morning.
Addressed to Sir Henry Baskerville, Northumberland Hotel, postmarked Charing Cross, yesterday evening.
Charing Cross?
Is that significant, Doctor?
Possibly. Holmes, may I?
Certainly.
Good Lord. As you value your life or your reason, keep away from the moor.
Perhaps you'll tell me, Mr. Holmes, what in thunder is the meaning of that? And who it is that takes so much interest in my affairs?
Who knew you were going to be at the Northumberland Hotel?
No one. We only decided after I met Dr. Mortimer.
But Dr. Mortimer wasn't no doubt already staying there?
No, I've been staying with friends, the Fletcher Robinsons.
So, someone cut this message out of a newspaper with scissors and
Nail scissors. The shortness of the blade is evident from the fact that the sender had to take 2 snips over keep away.
All right, then. So someone cut out the message with a pair of nail scissors, stuck it down with paste...
Gum.
Gum. But what I want to know is, why was the word moor written?
Obviously, because they could not find it in print. Dr. Mortimer, you must allow that there's nothing supernatural about this, at any rate.
No, Mr. Holmes. But it might very well come from someone who is convinced that the business is supernatural.
What business?
Sir Henry, has anything else of interest happened to you since you have been in London?
Well, I hope that it isn't part of the ordinary routine of life over here to lose one of your boots.
You've lost one of your boots?
Well, mislaid it anyhow. I put them both outside my door last night, and there was only one in the morning. I couldn't get any sense out of the fellow who cleans them. The worst of it is, I only bought them last night in the Strand.
Then why did you put them out to be cleaned?
They were tan boots, Dr. Watson, and never been varnished. You see, I figured if I'm to be squire down in Devonshire, I'll have to dress the part, and I've got a little careless in my ways out west, so I bought some new things, including these brown boots. Paid $6 for them, and had one stolen before ever I had them on my feet. I seem to have walked right into the thick of a dime novel. And it seems to me that you gentlemen know a great deal more than I do about my own affairs.
And you shall share our knowledge before the morning is out, Sir Henry, I promise you that. Dr. Mortimer, is the document concerning the legend at your hotel?
Well, yes.
Splendid. Take our young friend back there and show it to him. Tell him the entire story.
Now, but we've only just...
At once.
Shall I have a cab called?
Thanks, Dr. Watson, but I'd prefer to walk.
Suppose you two come round for lunch with us later.
Is that convenient to you, Watson?
Perfectly.
Then you may expect us. Au revoir, and good morning. Your hat and boots, Watson, quick. There's not a moment to lose.
The manuscript was written by another Hugo Baskerville. Not the Sir Hugo of legend, naturally, but a descendant. He wrote it for the benefit of his sons Roger and John, with the instructions that they say nothing of the legend to their sister Elizabeth.
I seem to have come into an inheritance with a vengeance. Of course, I have heard of the Hound ever since I was in the nursery. It's a pet story of the family, though I never thought of taking it seriously before. But as to my uncle's death, well, I'm not sure whether it's a case for a policeman or a clergyman.
Quite so. That's why I went to Sherlock Holmes, knowing myself to be an unpractical man suddenly confronted with a most serious and extraordinary problem. You know, Sir Henry, on more than one occasion, your late uncle asked me whether I had, on my medical journeys at night, ever seen any strange creature or heard the baying of a hound.
And have you?
Well, that is,
Shall I run on and stop them?
Not for the world, my dear Watson. I'm perfectly satisfied with your company, if you're prepared to tolerate mine. There's our man.
In that cab.
Come on. We'll have a good